All right, Reggie, let's talk some of those Minnesota Twins, shall we? After getting throttled by the Astros early
Yeah.
last week, it felt like the Twins kind of failed their first real litmus test of the season. However, they bounced back against the Guardians and win 2 of 3, putting up 17 runs in the series and flashed their bats back again after a cold stretch. Gio Urshela stood out with a great series, hitting 2 home runs, making a handful of great plays defensively at third base as well. In the month of May, Jorge Polanco ranks third in the AL in
Sheesh.
OPS, having a great month thus far. And Royce Lewis hit his first home run of his major league career this weekend. And wouldn't you know it, it was a grand slam Friday,
Grand salami.
helping the Twins blow past the Guardians 12-8 Friday night. Reggie, let's get into the Twins in a broader lens here in a second. But first, just your thoughts or notes from the series win over the Guardians over the weekend. Anything stick out for you over these last 3 games since we last spoke?
They did what they had to do. That was a big series win against the Guardians because the Guardians have seemed to be a team that, is surging. And you really didn't think that maybe they would, you thought maybe this might be a little bit of a down year for them. But then, coming into the series, Josh Naylor, he was on fire. He got COVID, so they didn't really have to deal with him. So that was a plus for their pursuits, but it seemed like they had the firepower to match the Guardians if Naylor was to play. And so I think what we saw was the Twins got back to doing what we saw them doing when they were going on those long win streaks earlier in the month. I think they were hitting, they had the pitching that was complimentary, and they put it all together. And so, we talked about it on Friday after getting, just like whipped, you know what I mean, from the Astros. It was just like, look, when they come back out and they play these series, I don't think we knew what to expect from them, but I think it's encouraging to see that they were able to go out, win 2 of 3 from the Guardians and really kind of get back on track as they head to this series they're about to go play the A's. They couldn't ask for a better part of the schedule after, kind of getting shellacked a little bit from Houston. Now you're coming back and you're playing the Guardians and you take 2 or 3 for them, and then you're playing the Athletics, who might as well be like a minor league baseball team at this point because they're just getting beat up on like if they were a boxer, they're getting knocked out of the ring. You know what I mean? That's what they're going through right now. And so I think the Twins are in a really good spot, and they did what they had to do, and it was encouraging to see that.
Yeah, Guardians got hit by the COVID bug, some injuries. You talked about Naylor specifically, and I think we got to this point in the schedule, this soft spot, and everybody just kind of wrote off the Guardians like they're nobodies, but they're a talented ball club as well. And who knows, once we get into the thick of the summer, they could certainly be contending in this division with the Twins, no doubt. The Twins are now 20-15, first place in the Central, and the return of Carlos Correa seems more and more imminent by the day. Getting him back in the lineup should only improve the Twins' bats that were ice cold last week, like we mentioned. Reggie, they've got another 3-game series with the A's coming up, who they swept last weekend. You just mentioned that. Then a nice little soft stretch. Kansas City, Detroit, Kansas City, Detroit. When you look at this next 20 games or so, what are you hoping to see from the Twins as they try to take advantage of their schedule before they square off with some big hitters, the Yankees, Blue Jays shortly thereafter? Tinker with the lineup, anything of that nature during this little stretch here?
I think best case scenario is they win at least 14 or 15 of those 20. I think it's interesting because the Twins have a little bit of a conundrum here. They are trying to figure out this whole deal with, Byron Buxton, which I know we'll get into a little bit. And then they got these guys that are really doing well. Carlos Correa, they signed him because they felt like they needed another veteran bat, another championship level bat. Then you got his replacement, Royce Lewis, hitting a grand slam on Friday. You got Miranda. You got Celestino. You got these guys that are filling in quite nicely like quite nicely. I think this will be a good chance to kind of get them some reps, get them some time in these games, and get them just more comfortable because you could be needing these guys down the stretch. Miranda, like all these guys are playing, and it's a luxury to be able to just like shift them to St. Paul and then bring them back whenever you need to. And I think what you want to see is them to continue to do what they did against like the Guardians. Maybe take 2 of 3 in each of those series that are coming up. I think they are good enough to do that, good enough to sweep some of these teams. And so, it's still professional baseball. You have to respect the opponent, and you have to, you still got to go up there and win these games. But, I think it's encouraging. Joe Ryan bounced back. You got Sonny Gray. His stuff looked nasty the last time he started. I think it's encouraging that they're playing the type of baseball that they've played after this weekend series. And so I think what you want to see is to continue to find guys. If you're going to continue to tinker with the lineup, if you're going to continue to have, load management or whatever with Byron Buxton, I think you kind of found a little bit of these recipes that can get you to success with this baseball team. And I'm excited to see how they kind of tinker and how they, really work this thing over these next 20 games or so.
Yeah, first and foremost, I think you just want to see this team get healthy and see what your best 9 guys in the lineup can do for a consistent stretch. And I think then you can really finally start to get a feel for what this team's capable of when you've got that mix of studs like Buxton and Correa mixed in with a lot of younger high-end talent like Royce Lewis and company, as you mentioned. But, man, they've certainly been plagued by a little injury bug here or there early on, and getting healthy has to be priority A, first and foremost, no doubt. You mentioned it. Obviously, you love the excitement of bringing in a high-prize free agent like Carlos Correa, but we all knew when you spend the number 1 overall pick on a kid like Royce Lewis, you're going to have to find a way, somehow, some way, to get him into the lineup and get those valuable reps. You just can't put a price on these reps. These young players are starting to see some valuable playing time. So it's a great problem to have, no doubt, by Rocco Baldelli, but he's got to find a way right here in these next 18, 20 games to tinker with that lineup, kind of, trial and error a little bit before things get really tough. And again, you got the Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox. It's a tough stretch coming up after these 18, 20 games. Use this stretch to your advantage for sure and find the best 9 guys. What order that may be, I don't know, but give you your best chance of winning when things get tough in the thick of the summer. Twins start that 3-game series with the A's tonight. Chris Archer on the mound in Oakland, so late start to that one. First pitch, I don't think till like 8:40.
8:40.
Man.
Yeah. Goodness.
Late
Archer's
start.
still looking for his first win, too. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned Archer. You mentioned Sonny Gray throwing some smoke. Joe Ryan's the stud. Now that we're, 30-plus games in, about 6 weeks into the MLB season, a lot of talk going into the year was going to be around that starting rotation. Now that you've seen these guys for 6 weeks or so, everybody's got 3-4 starts under their belt. I'm just curious, who do you think is like their top 3 guys? Joe Ryan's the easy number 1, but after that, there's a grab bag, a mixed bag of different options. Who right now, let's just say the playoffs started tomorrow, who's your 1, 2, and 3 from this Twins rotation after what we've seen so far?
Well, I think 2 unquestioned is Sonny Gray, if he's healthy. 3, that's a tough one, man.
You'd think it would be Paddock, right? But obviously he's on the 60.
Yeah, Paddock. I don't think Paddock's going to be available. So yeah, he would be the obvious choice. But okay, you talk about Archer, you got Bundy, you got Winder.
It's tough, man.
I think if you're gonna go your third, it would be between Archer and Bundy.
I like that.
And look, Archer's last start was not good. And so, but a couple of Bundy's last few starts have not been good as well. So I think it's a toss-up. I think, whoever you trust more. But if you had to pin me to a board and make me choose, maybe Bundy?
Yeah. Archer got shelled most recently, but that was against the Astros. Bundy's been pretty up and down consistently the last few starts, but I mean, flip a coin right now. And again, that's why you use this 18, 20 game stretch, the soft point in the schedule, to figure those things out. Again, maybe a good problem to have some good depth, even after losing guys like Maeda and Paddock. Those are huge blows for any other team. To still have guys like Archer and Bundy to throw out there on nights 3 and 4 in a series is really nice to have that kind of luxury at this point.
And you mentioned Kenta. He hopes to be back this season. So it's like,
is that right?
Okay. If they do what they need to do and get into the post, what type of luxury would that be to go into the postseason?
Yeah,
you lose Paddock, but then be able to have Kenta Maeda help you in the postseason, or kind of get maybe a few starts in at the end of the regular season and maybe come back in the postseason. Like, that's a luxury. And when you say, who's the top 3, he's going to be in that top 3 for me.
Rest assured, again, Reggie and I will be here tomorrow to break down that game 1 of this nice little soft schedule here coming up for the Twins next 18, 20 games.